What's up? Intempus here, music producer talk. Let's do this. First of all, I apologize in advance for the screen kind of doing these weird black glitches every now and again. So here's the topic for today. Spotify will now let artists directly upload their music to the platform. I already have some key points that I want to make on this, and I think it's a really good idea, but let's go into the article. We'll read a little more, see what it's all about. Spotify has announced a new beta feature that will allow independent artists to upload their music directly to the platform instead of through a label or digital aggregator. If you don't know, you can get your music onto all digital music platforms by going through a digital aggregator. So if you're a label or an independent artist, you can get your music onto music streaming platforms by going through a digital aggregator like TuneCore, CD Baby, DistroKid. But the interesting thing that's happening here that Spotify is doing is you can upload your music directly to the service, or at least that's what they're aiming for. So that is actually super interesting. They're essentially cutting out the middleman. The upload feature will be contained within the service's existing Spotify for Artists platform, which among other things allow artists to view data about their listeners and directly submit their songs for editorial playlist consideration. I really like the Spotify for Artists platform. It's really cool. You can see your analytics, where people are listening to, what songs, how many listeners you have, and then to be able to upload your music directly from there is really cool. The new upload feature won't work like SoundCloud, where songs can be instantly available. Here, look at this. Direct upload is being offered as a free service. That is really cool. That's really interesting to know, because that means that, yeah, Spotify is really cutting out the middleman in this situation. It's a free service, whereas if you go through a digital aggregator, you do have to pay a fee. For things like CD Baby and TuneCore, it's usually a flat fee, but then I don't know if this is still true, but they do take a percentage of the royalties that you make, whereas other services like DistroKid, it's just an annual fee and you can upload however much music you want. That's what I'm using right now, and it's been working out great for me. And if you want to check that out, I'll leave a link in the description. There's still a use for digital aggregators. See, if you want your music on all music streaming platforms, go through a digital aggregator. I mean, not all music streaming platforms have this available. Actually, none of them really have it available as far as I know. Spotify is just kind of rolling out this service, which might set a precedent for other music streaming platforms to follow suit. The only downside, if that were to happen, would be that artists would have to spend a lot of time, or managers or whoever is putting up the music would have to spend a lot of time going to every single music streaming platform to upload their music. However, most people are listening to music on Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud, Pandora. If you think about it, Spotify making this move not only cuts out the middleman, but it almost making users want to go to Spotify even more. If you know that the majority of music is being uploaded to Spotify, you're probably going to go to Spotify or pay for Spotify because most of the music is on there. But they're kind of making a step towards independent artists being able to upload their music directly to Spotify, giving Spotify more content in order to use as leverage for more people to use the Spotify music streaming platform. Really interesting stuff, Spotify. I see where you're going with it. The company recommends that you upload at least 5 days ahead of the planned release, which will make sure that Spotify that your content doesn't contain potentially infringing content. That makes sense. You're making money off of music streaming platforms per stream, even though it's a low royalty rate. You are making money, so you shouldn't really have infringing content. Makes sense. It will also cross-check to make sure the same content isn't being delivered to Spotify through other partners, avoiding duplicates. They're going to cross-check to make sure that other, that other partners, digital aggregators, that you aren't uploading the same song to Spotify twice. And if Spotify does that, I mean, if you think about it, that is really attempting to cut out the middleman. Regarding payments, okay, so now we're talking. Let's get into this. So regarding payments for the artists who upload directly to Spotify, Some person from Spotify said that the company will offer artists 50% of Spotify's net revenue and 100% of royalties for the songs they upload. That's really good news for independent artists. What I don't know is... Keep. Don't sit on the computer, please. No. Anyways, what I don't know is exactly what Spotify means by, using 50% of its net revenue to pay independent artists. I don't know how that, turns out in terms of royalty rates, but if it increases the royalty rates for Spotify, which Spotify kind of has pretty high royalty rates per stream right now, at least I make most of my money as an independent artist on music streaming platforms through Spotify. I'm kind of curious in terms of what the payout would be per stream or how they're going to do that. I'm not exactly sure how they mean by that, but keeping 100% of the royalties is really, really nice. Again, some of the digital aggregators, they do take a percentage of royalties. So if you can keep that percentage and not have to pay a flat fee or an annual fee or anything like that, that right there is extremely helpful. Already it's sounding really interesting and appealing for me as an independent artist, but I also see from the business side for Spotify, it making sense that they make this kind of move. We created a simple and fair deal for uploading music where artists receive 50% of Spotify's net revenue, and Spotify accounts to publishers and collection societies for additional royalties related to the musical composition. Really cool that they take care of what the digital aggregators essentially take care of. The only real con that I'm finding so far, and I don't really know how big of a con this is, but it's worth considering. Do you really want to give that much power to the platform to pay you as well? Is it better to have a middleman who essentially is working for the artist? Which I guess Spotify was still working for the artist, but that's the only con that I'm seeing. Maybe you're giving a little too much power to Spotify in terms of payouts. That would be a kind of thing that you would have to see play out if that would be the case. Artists will receive automatic monthly royalty checks. They will be able to view all that information and check all their data within Spotify for artists. Getting paid via monthly checks, that's kind of nice. That would be really, really nice. That seems a little more efficient. Digital aggregators have to get their information from the music streaming platforms in order to calculate or in order to know how much to pay the artists. But since Spotify would have all of that data, they can just pay you monthly in a much more efficient way. I like that, and you can check all of that information as you should inside Spotify for artists. Direct uploads are still only available for artists who have been invited by Spotify to participate. It seems like Spotify is kind of taking a kind of lean startup approach. I'm already learning about this service and I'm really liking the whole idea and concept of it. So let's move on from there. Should Spotify eventually roll this out as a public feature, it could have a great impact on the indie music market, which has been burgeoning in the public eye. Yeah, the indie music market is getting much bigger now that the barriers to entry are significantly lower and distribution is much more easier to get, and so it just makes sense for artists to be able to upload directly on a platform. At least in my head, I really think they're going to roll this out as a public feature eventually. A lot of streaming platforms, not just music streaming platforms, are taking on this idea of the long tail theory. If you don't know about the long tail theory, it's definitely worth checking out. I wrote a paper on it when I was going to the Berklee College of Music, and it's a concept that Netflix is using, Hulu's using, streaming platforms in general are using. So to see Spotify essentially taking that idea and implementing it into their service, or I guess possibly, since they haven't completely rolled it out yet, I think that's a very smart idea. Oh, that's the end of the article right there. So that was the complete article. So final thoughts. Again, I personally think this is a really cool idea that Spotify is doing. From an artist perspective, what I want to know is what the royalty payouts are going to look like. I don't think Spotify is going to completely, take over the indie music market, but this is a very significant step in terms of kind of cutting out the middleman, making it easier for artists. Again, I'm very curious about the royalty rates and the payouts. It just seems like a smart move to me. Maybe I'm overlooking some cons, but I'm not sure. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm genuinely curious about what you guys think. Is this a good idea? Is it a bad idea to give this amount of control to this company? I don't know. But I personally think it's a really interesting idea. It's appealing for me as an independent artist. Is it appealing for you? But that's the end of the article, so that's the end of the video. Once again, my name's Intempus. This is Music Producer Talk. See you guys next time. Oh, and also if you like the video, leave a like on the video, man. It really helps me show up on results and whatnot. So thumbs up and thumbs up to you. If you like this content, subscribe for more. I'm going to be doing more videos like this. I want to keep up to date with things that are happening in the music industry, things to think about, and to help independent artists make their career possible. I fit in that category. So anyways, subscribe. Thank you guys. My name is Intempus. Catch you guys later. That's the video.